For some, the thought of meeting a giant shark is a nightmare. For others, it's a thrilling dream that gets them out of bed. Love them or fear them, sharks are amazing creatures, and some are incredibly large. Here are 15 of the biggest sharks in the world ever recorded. Number 15. American researchers tag great white sharks off Nova Scotia coast. It's a pretty rough hand to be dealt when you're a gigantic 13-foot-long shark and somehow you manage to get bitten by an even bigger predator. This massive shark was part of a research trip by scientists off the coast of Nova Scotia, and that's when they hauled a creature out of the ocean that they managed to tag and take down a whole list of useful information about the animal before releasing it back into the water. Named Vimy by the researchers, this shark had a huge wound on his head. It was a bite mark from another shark. The science guy said that it was likely another male shark in a fight over a female, or even perhaps the female herself objecting to Vimy's attempts to mate with her. They then added that shark mating is generally really violent and often results in multiple bites, which are usually to the head. Just imagine if humans were like that. Whatever did bite the shark, one thing's for sure, it had to be pretty hefty itself in order to fit Vimy's sizable head in its mouth. Number 14. Great white shark with surfers. This insane drone footage shows a bunch of surfers just casually paddling around, while a gigantic great white shark swims around them, sizing them up. It is pretty chilling stuff captured from the sky over the waters of Cape Town at the southern tip of South Africa. This unique footage has been used by local authorities to warn surfers and swimmers of the shark dangers that exist there. Well known for shark activity, Plattenberg Bay is often witness to sharks on the hunt for seals and fish nearby. Although the scary footage shows a shark coming very close to people in the water, it's not actually displaying any kind of particularly aggressive behavior. It just seems to be investigating the scene. There are things that surfers and swimmers can do to lessen their chances of a dangerous interaction with these huge predators. Advice includes using a personal shark shield, which is kind of a device that produces an electromagnetic field that puts sharks off, also to avoid areas where there's fishing, and to stay in groups. Like we've already heard, sharks are not all that likely to attack humans, and when they do, they're just tasting whether it's the sort of prey they're looking for. Even so, it is a risky business sharing any waters with one of these toothsome terrors. Well, that was a terrifying paddle through the pointy-toothed world of shark encounters. I'm off to sell my kayak and my oceanfront property and never go in the water again. Number 13. Huge great white shark netted in Mexico. It's not often that a fisherman with a big fish story actually brings that big fish home. However, in 2012, 2 fishermen in Mexico brought home a whopper, and it was basically all completely by accident. Out doing some regular-sized fishing in the Sea of Cortez, these fishermen were hauling in their nets when they were shocked to discover an absolutely massive great white shark instead of a load of smaller fish. The unfortunate beast was already dead when the fishermen hauled in their net, so they had to figure out a way to get this monster catch back to the shore. The shark measured almost 20 feet long, weighing an estimated 2,000 pounds, so there was no way to haul it on board of their little fishing boat. Eventually, they would decide to tow the mighty beast back to land, and that's where they were met by astonished locals in the coastal village who were more than happy to assist with the big job of eating the enormous shark. They must have been eating leftovers for weeks. Just look at the size of it. Number 12. Marine biologist swims with 20-foot-long great shark. While spotting a great white shark would have most of us swimming extremely fast in the opposite direction and running for the safety of dry land, there's one woman who just couldn't believe her fortune when she happened upon the gigantic and super famous great white shark known as Deep Blue. Yet this shark does certainly get around, doesn't she? A marine biologist with the uncannily appropriate name of Ocean Ramsey swam with the old lady of the sea off the coast of Hawaii and said that her incredible encounter filled her heart with joy and took her breath away. That's a brave woman, because I'd certainly be breathless, but more likely from all the sprinting I'd be doing as I ran away in complete terror. Although Ramsey maintains that great whites are really just misunderstood and they swim around people all day long without eating them, but that's good, I guess. She does reckon that in all her years of studying the behaviors of sharks, she's rarely seen them make a mistake with what they're eating. Now I can't determine how reassuring that really is. Great white sharks don't necessarily want to eat people. That much is true, and shark bites are usually just a taste test to see if the creature in the shark's mouth is one that they actually want to consume. Apparently they don't like the taste of people, but even if a shark only gives you a little sample nibble, that bite will likely as not leave you sleeping with the fishes anyways. Now it's time for today's topic. In January 2026, a seasoned freediver was filming reef structures near Neptune Islands, South Australia, when his camera suddenly filled with the open jaws of a massive great white. The diver later told local media he had never seen a shark that large in decades of diving. The footage shows the shark charging from below, striking coral and sand just feet from the diver's fins. He escaped by wedging himself into a narrow rock crevice as the animal circled repeatedly, its dorsal fins scraping the surface above. Boat crews nearby reported the water lifting, as the shark passed under them. Marine authorities reviewed the video and confirmed it was an unusually large great white, though exact size couldn't be measured. The diver was evacuated with minor injuries and hasn't returned to the water since. Number 11. Caught on camera ancient Greenland sharks. Slow-moving Greenland sharks are rarely captured on film because they prefer the cold, deep waters of North Atlantic and Arctic regions, so they don't land in people's boats like the more infamous sharks out there in the warmer waters. However, these big guys are truly extraordinary. First of all, the Greenland shark is massive. These creatures can reach lengths of up to 24 feet, weighing as much as 3,100 pounds. The sizes are bigger than any of the other sharks we've encountered so far, even the biggest of all great whites. Truly an apex predator, the Greenland shark will eat mostly fish but has been known to indulge in the odd seal, moose, or even polar bear. Perhaps one of the most incredible things about the shark is how long they can live. They have the longest lifespan of any vertebrate, living for between 300 and 500 years. In fact, a study of the species in 2016 discovered a shark that had been born between 1504 and 1744, and that is just mind-blowing. A shark that may have been born when Michelangelo was painting the Sistine Chapel is still alive and swimming today. No wonder these sharks move so slow. They have all the time in the world. Number 10. Huge shark seen leaping from the water off Devon coast. Sharks off the UK coast are not really that common of a sight, so when an 8-foot thresher shark turned up in the waters of Torbay, it got the locals a little bit gossiping. Torbay and Devon on the south coast of England is a holiday hotspot, full of paddling toddlers, pleasure boats, a shark. Well, that's not generally considered the best thing to combine with vacationing families and rubber dinghies. I mean, we've all seen Jaws, right? The big thresher shark would first be spotted by a tour boat that was out with a group looking for a cuter sea creature like a seal or a dolphin, and boy did they spot some. It was the dolphin's bizarre behavior at first that would alert the group to the shark. It was then that the thresher would leap out of the water, making sure that it got in on the visitors' holiday snaps too. You can't have the dolphins stealing the whole show. Turns out though that although they do look a bit scary, threshers are actually no threat to humans, so the people of Devon don't need to worry about a Jaws-style summer just yet. Number 9. The first great white shark ever caught off the Navarre beach. Fishing off a pier on Navarre beach is not where you'd usually expect to catch anything much more than a tiddler, but the True Blue fishing team managed to snag themselves a huge 10-foot-long great white shark that weighed about 650 pounds. The fishermen caught the mighty creature off the Navarre Beach fishing pier in Florida and took them over an hour and a half to reel it in when they realized just exactly what they had on the line. The amazed fishermen then went about tagging the shark so that it could be monitored and more could be learned about the massive fish and their habits. When wrestling the shark onto shore to measure and record it, these brave or perhaps bonkers people can be seen getting just a little too close for comfort. All was well in the end though, and the shark would then be released back into the Gulf of Mexico unharmed. The fishermen also had one heck of a big fish story to tell. Number 8. Huge shark that barely fits into fisherman's boat ignites controversy. Tiger sharks are common enough in the waters around Australia that fishermen are actually allowed to keep a tiger shark in their daily catch. That fact, however, doesn't stop people from expressing concern and even outrage when images begin to emerge of the massive tiger shark squeezed into a tiny fishing boat. Tiger sharks are now considered to be near endangered and on the IUCN's red list, but despite a decrease in their numbers that's estimated to be 74% lower than 50 years ago, they're not at risk enough to warrant the protection of Australian law. This 870-pound catch of the day looked to be a sorry sight as the fishermen steered their boat back to harbor in Sydney. Photos showed the shark's striped body bent awkwardly against the gunnels, its powerful tail hanging over the side as waves slapped against the hull. Onlookers online fixated on its glassy eye and slack jaw, reading fear and exhaustion into a single frozen moment. For many viewers, it wasn't just a big fish but a living symbol of an ocean already under pressure. Others argued the image stripped away context, ignoring regulations, quotas, and the long traditions of local fishing culture. The fishermen themselves reportedly said the catch came after hours of effort, the shark fighting hard before finally tiring. By the time the boat turned for home, adrenaline had faded, replaced by the uneasy awareness that the internet would soon weigh in. Within hours, the photo leapt from dockside chatter to national headlines, amplified by outrage, hashtags, and heated comment threads. Some demanded immediate bans and harsher protections, while others pushed back, warning against policy driven by viral images. The shark's sheer size made it impossible to ignore, turning a single landing into a proxy battle over conservation and responsibility. In that sense, The cramped boat became a stage where conflicting values collided as violently as the sea itself. It caused quite the hoo-ha when people took umbrage with the men's apparent carelessness over their catch. The debate would rage on with all kinds of discussion about the fate of the shark. The New South Wales Gaming Fishing Association would poke there or in as well, saying that they are not out there just to murder everything that's in the water. Those guys have only taken one fish. And while that may be true, it still sucks to be that one fish. Number 7. Huge great white shark circling Kayaker 5,000 feet from shore. There are a lot of sharks in Australia. That's a fact. Here's yet another great white shark doing a spot of investigation near a very nervous human. Kayaking in shark-infested waters may seem a tad bananas, but it does get you some good video footage if you survive, that is. Matthew Smith would be fishing in a kayak about a mile off the coast of Blackhead Beach in New South Wales, Australia, when a shadowy figure began to approach. The fisherman was being filmed from the sky by a friend who was using a camera drone and watching on helplessly as the 13-foot great white shark swam towards Smith in the tiny kayak. It was at that moment that a terrified Smith really thought that he was about to meet his maker. A nosy great white shark circling your flimsy boat, well, that's never a good sign. Uttering some fruitier language, the petrified fisherman didn't know what to do. He even just tells the shark to go away, and perhaps that worked. I mean, how often do people think to ask a shark to simply cease and desist? Perhaps it could have been the sound of the drone flying overhead that put off the giant predator. Or perhaps he just realized it was a boring boat and a very not tasty human and then went off in search of a proper lunch. Whatever it was that would send the shark off elsewhere, fortune was certainly smiling on Smith that day, and he has the awesome video of his close encounter to prove it. Number 6. Fisherman catching 1,300-pound Mako shark, scariest thing ever. The macabre side of a huge 1,300-pound Mako shark strung up by its tail is the ultimate result for a group of shark fishermen from Huntington Beach, Los Angeles. These guys get together for a spot of shark fishing about 20 days a year, and sometimes they actually get lucky. Sometimes the shark gets luckier. On one particular day in 2013, they would take a boat out into the waters off the California coast and sprinkled some of what they call their secret sauce onto the surface. This sauce consists of the shark-enticing combination of chopped up mackerel and ground chum. Delicious. Fairly quickly, there was an interesting customer. A whopping great big Mako shark was circling, looking for some tasty treats. At first it stayed just beyond the slick, a shadow cutting wide arcs beneath the surface as if measuring the boat and the men aboard it. Then the water erupted as the Mako surged forward, its sickle-shaped tail carving white foam and sending a jolt of adrenaline through everyone on deck. Lines went tight, reels screamed, and the fishermen realized this was no routine catch but a full-scale battle with one of the ocean's fastest predators. The shark dove deep, ripping line and forcing the crew to scramble, bracing themselves against the rail as the boat rocked with every powerful run. Minutes stretched into hours as arms burned and nerves frayed, each surge threatening to snap the gear or pull someone off balance. The Mako leapt more than once, a flash of metallic blue and white in the sun, reminding them just how much raw power they were dealing with. Sweat mixed with salt spray as the crew shouted instructions, switching positions and fighting fatigue. Even seasoned anglers admitted they had never felt anything like it. Every time they thought the shark was spent, it found another burst of speed. By the end, the fight had become as much a test of human endurance as it was a demonstration of the shark's strength. The fishermen then hooked the shark and spent 2.5 hours wrestling the colossal creature in order to bring it onto their boat. Johnston, the boat's captain, said of the experience, "It's the scariest thing I've ever done in my life." Well, you just gotta wonder how the shark felt about it. Number 5. 500-pound shark caught by fishermen off the coast of Cornwall. Fishermen in Cornwall are more used to hauling in mackerel than a massive monster fish, so when they caught a huge porbeagle shark, they were at least a little surprised. The 500-pound porbeagle, measuring more than 8 feet, would take fishermen 2 hours to reel in. After they had a good look at it and took plenty of selfies, of course, they then let the big fish go. Word spread quickly along the docks, drawing curious locals who had never seen a shark like that up close. Its thick, torpedo-shaped body and dark, watchful eyes gave it a presence that felt more like a North Atlantic legend than a routine catch. As the shark thrashed beside the boat, the fishermen realized just how much power was packed into an animal built for cold, fast water. For 2 exhausting hours, lines screamed, arms burned, and every surge reminded them who was really in control. Even seasoned hands admitted their hearts were pounding, knowing one wrong move could snap gear or send someone overboard. When the porbeagle finally calmed, its sheer mass hanging in the water was both humbling and awe-inspiring. Moments like that turn an ordinary day at sea into a story that gets told for years. It was the kind of encounter that leaves fishermen respecting the ocean a little more than when they left the harbor. Although porbeagle sharks like this one are widely distributed throughout cooler and temperate waters across the globe, these guys are at risk of overfishing, and their population suffered from their reputation as a good source of shark meat. It turns out that although still quite unusual to catch such a big shark, these animals are becoming more and more common along the British coastline. Not considered to be a risk for humans, they generally swim in deeper waters a couple of miles away from land. However, the porbeagle has been showing up with increased regularity in the area, especially around Devon and Cornwall down in the southwest of the country. Warming seas as a result of climate change are seeing an overall shift in the migratory pattern of many kinds of sharks, and it's estimated that UK waters will even see great whites and hammerheads within the next 30 years. Number 4. Deep Blue, one of the biggest great white sharks ever filmed. One of the biggest great whites that's ever been captured on film, has also captured many imaginations in her time on this earth. The gargantuan great white known as Deep Blue measures an estimated 20 feet long, which is pretty massive when you consider that an average great white measures between 11 and 15 feet, and either way you slice it, it's all pretty big. This extraordinary animal is stunned marine biologists, who are just fascinated by not only the size of the magnificent creature but also by her age, believing that she may be more than 50 years old. Great whites continue to grow as they age, so this huge shark will simply keep getting bigger and bigger the older she gets. Seeing a predator of this scale instantly rewrites everything people think they know about sharks. Divers who have encountered her describe a strange mix of fear and awe, as her presence alone seems to dominate the water around her. Unlike younger sharks that dart and turn quickly, Deep Blue moves with a slow, deliberate confidence, as if she knows nothing in the ocean can challenge her. Her scars tell stories of decades spent hunting, migrating, and surviving in a harsh environment. Each mark on her skin is believed to be a record of battles with prey, rivals, or even boats. Scientists speculate that sharks like her are crucial to maintaining balance in marine ecosystems. Losing an apex predator of this size could ripple through entire food chains. That's why sightings of Deep Blue are treated as major scientific events. Every appearance offers a rare chance to learn more about the true upper limits of shark size and longevity. For many researchers, she represents a living relic from a time when the oceans were far wilder than they are today. The Old Lady of the Sea would be filmed in an amazing encounter in 2013 off the coast of Mexico's Guadalupe Island in the Pacific Ocean. Scientists have managed to tag Deep Blue, so they've been able to track her movements. I for one am kind of relieved that somebody's keeping tabs on this big scary shark, so at least there might be a warning if I'm about to take a paddle in the old lady's snack bowl. Number 3. Fishermen catch 13-foot hammerhead shark in Florida. Florida fishermen made the evening news with their catch of the day a few years ago. The lucky guys had an encounter with an extraordinary 13-foot-long hammerhead shark in the waters off Sanibel Island in Florida. The three guys filmed their amazing catch as they managed to bring the shark into shallow water and get a look at the fruits of their labor. The fishermen had been out in the Gulf of Mexico, using the hammerhead's favorite food, a stingray, as bait, all with the hopes of grabbing a big catch. However, when they realized that they had snagged a gigantic shark, they just couldn't believe their good fortune. Adrenaline kicked in almost instantly as the reel screamed and the rod bent under the sheer power of the animal. Each surge from the shark sent vibrations through the line, forcing the men to dig their heels into the sand and work together. The hammerhead thrashed its massive head from side to side, using its wide cephalofoil like a battering ram against the pull. For a moment, it looked like the line might snap, and the fishermen shouted over each other, trying to keep tension steady. Waves splashed around their knees as the shark drew closer, its shadow growing larger beneath the surface. The size of its dorsal fin alone was enough to make their hearts race. Beachgoers began to gather at a distance, unsure whether to be excited or nervous. Cameras stayed rolling as the men realized they were witnessing something truly rare. Even seasoned anglers dream of encounters like this, but few ever experience one firsthand. It was the kind of moment that would be talked about for years. "Dude, he's huge." Once we got it close to the beach, he saw that was hammered off. The hammerhead caught the line about 200 yards out to sea, so the men wrestled the magnificent animal for more than half an hour to get it close to the beach. They then got their epic photos and released it back into the ocean. The guys were overwhelmed with the sheer strength of the massive shark and thoroughly enjoyed their unique close-up experience with the beautiful beast. That shark doesn't look quite so thrilled about everything though, does it? Number 2. largest great white shark ever recorded seen feasting on dead sperm whale near Hawaii. Remember the big old lady, the great white, who was named Deep Blue? Well, researchers who saw this footage think that it's probably her. When a film would emerge of a huge great white shark gorging on a whale carcass in the waters of Oahu, scientists who tracked the big shark state that it was Deep Blue who did it. When this shark was previously recorded, it was near Guadalupe Island off the coast of Mexico, about 2,400 miles away. But although it may seem like a long-distance journey for a shark to take for just a bite to eat, apparently great whites are able to cover enormous distances. Some have even been recorded traveling as far as 12,400 miles. What makes this encounter even more remarkable is the sheer confidence the shark displays as it feeds, completely unbothered by divers and boats nearby. Deep Blue moves slowly and deliberately, conserving energy the way only a massive, experienced predator would. Researchers noted that her size alone likely discourages competition, allowing her to dominate the carcass without challenge. The footage also reveals scars along her body, silent proof of decades spent surviving encounters with prey, rivals, and the ocean itself. For scientists, moments like this are rare windows into the private life of an apex predator rarely seen up close. Each movement helps confirm theories about how older female great whites behave differently from younger, more aggressive sharks. Observing her feeding behavior suggests that large females may rely on massive meals like this to sustain long migrations. It's the kind of evidence that turns a viral video into a valuable scientific record. This special sighting has given researchers some valuable insight into the migration patterns of female great whites. The extraordinary footage of the 2.5-ton Deep Blue snarfing down a whale-sized snack has had people gossiping about the big shark. Her belly looks particularly swollen, but some people suggest that perhaps she was just expecting, while others thought that eating a whale would probably give you at least a little bit of belly bloating for about a week. The dead sperm whale was quite the attraction in the underwater community. Lots of other sharks would turn up to the buffet for a little nibble, giving marine biologists more evidence that great white populations in the North Pacific are increasing in numbers. So, perhaps it won't be a spot that I'm going to go for a swim in. Number 1. 12-foot great white shark caught off Hilton Head Island. Hilton Head Island in South Carolina is home to a man known locally as the Shark Whisperer, Chip Mickelove, as he also goes by. Caught an encounter with a huge 12-foot great white shark on film while fishing on a new spot a couple of miles off the coast of Hilton Head. Chip wasn't holding out a lot of hope for a big catch, but how wrong he actually turned out to be when suddenly the biggest shark of the season popped up. Chip and his buddy Pavel worked together to reel in the beast, and the 30-minute effort would be made a little bit trickier as Pavel actually had an injury, so he was only able to use one of his arms. There they were, a 3-armed crew that were wrestling the biggest catch of the year, a 1,000-pound great white shark. As the shark surfaced alongside the boat, its sheer bulk made the water around it churn like a washing machine. Chip later said the moment the dorsal fin broke the surface, his adrenaline spiked and every instinct told him how small they really were. The great white circled slowly, not thrashing wildly, but moving with a calm confidence that only an apex predator has. Every pull on the line felt like trying to stop a truck with fishing gear. Nearby seabirds scattered as the shadow of the shark passed beneath them, hinting at just how massive it was below the surface. Despite the danger, the crew stayed focused, communicating in short, sharp commands over the roar of the water. For a brief moment, the shark locked eyes with the men, a silent standoff that none of them would ever forget. It was the kind of encounter that turns an ordinary fishing trip into a lifetime story. The men recorded and photographed the creature, who appeared to have had a little bit of a run-in with a seal and was sporting some fairly robust scratches on its head. They tagged it and then released it back into the ocean, and the shark now wears 2 tags, one that records the distance and route that it takes, and another which is like a sensor that's going to set off an alarm if it comes too close to the beach. There are many places along the coast that have receivers to pick up the warning, so this shark's days of sneaking up are over, party poopers. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.